friends, thank you for joining me. It's Miss Kathy again at the library, and I'm coming to you today with a rainbow flower garden shadow box craft. As you can see, we've got a wide variety of flowers on here, a couple different shapes, a couple different sizes, and you can arrange them in a lovely rainbow pattern. They say that April showers bring May flowers, but I find that June brings the best out of the gardens. So, thank you for joining me, and here's how we're going to get started. One of the things that you're going to need to do is pick up the craft pack here at the library. If you haven't registered and paid the fee, you'll need to do that before you get the craft pack. Inside the craft pack, you're going to get one of these lovely frames from the Dollar Tree. You're going to get a bottle of glue. You'll also get the rainbow of cardstock with the patterns actually already on them. So all you'll have to do is cut them out. And then you're going to get a handy dandy skewer so that you can roll the flowers and crease them as you need them. The only supply that you're going to need at home is a pair of scissors. So let's get started with the crafting part. The first thing that you're going to want to do is open up the packet of the frame from the Dollar Tree. And I've already opened this packet, and you can see that on the back side, there are these little metal prongs. You're going to want to pull them up so that you can release the handy dandy cardstock that's already on it. The reason you want to do that is because we're not using this twine, you're going to want to take a pair of scissors and very carefully just snip the twine. You may need to pull a little bit at it because you don't want it to show on your final product. You do, however, want to keep the one at the top so that you can hang this on your wall. Okay, so once you've done this, set the frame aside. You'll want to keep your cardboard out so that when you're putting your flowers on it, you can do this on a flat surface. Okay, so the next step is to cut out all of your flowers. And you're going to want to use the cardstock, and you're going to want to cut within the black line. You want to remove all of that so that when you coil the flowers up, you're not showing any of that black line. So this is why this is a lovely take and make, because it will take you a while to cut all of these out. So once they're all cut out, you can line them up, and we'll get started with the rolled flowers first. Okay, so for the rolled flowers, you're going to want to use your skewer that we've provided for you, as well as one of the rolled flowers. The instructions I've found online suggest that you use a pair of tweezers to roll this. I find that using the tweezers to hold the paper is just a little too tricky. But I found that if I used my skewer, I could get a nice crisp roll of the flower, and yet this was easier to do. So starting with your flower, you're going to want to take the tapered side of your skewer, place it along the flat edge of the bottom so that as you pinch it and turn it ever so gently, you'll get a tighter pull at the bottom than at the top. The skewer also gives you a nice amount of sort of resistance to help you roll it in a completely circular fashion. So we'll roll this one up. You can see that I'm trying to get a nice tight roll. I don't want the cardstock to travel too much. And once I've got a pretty good beginning on this, I will frequently take it off, crimp it this way, and then continue rolling it the rest of the way. You want to try to make sure that the cardstock has a good bend to it so that it keeps the shape of the rolling. If you don't do it tight enough, the flowers just don't want to curl up as nice. Okay, once you get to the end of the roll, you'll continue to pinch it, and then this is going to form the bottom. So you want to sort of bend this last one and give it a good pinch. And when you release it, you'll see that we've got a nice, tight, rolled flower. Some of the flowers that I did earlier, as an example, you can see that this one, I didn't roll it very tightly, and so it's quite loose, and it doesn't want to keep the shape. If this happens, you can just pull the skewer back out and once again, press it hard to help it keep the shape. So once I've done that, you can see that it's a little bit better shape. Once you have it all rolled up, you're just going to want to take the bottom and put a generous amount of glue and then hold your flower in place until it dries reasonably well. If you want, you can do all of your rolled flowers together and set them aside. The next set of flowers are what I'm calling the stacked flowers. These flowers are arranged sort of like zinnias, I think, in that they've got these lovely spiky ends. So what you want to do is line them up in about the size from the largest to smallest, and you want to line them up so that they overlap just a wee little bit. And then glue in between. And as you glue, you're going to continue going around the circle, and eventually once you have all neatly stacked them, you'll see that they form sort of this circular pattern. And once they're all stuck together and glued, to add a little bit of dimension to them, you can take your handy dandy skewer and you're going to curl the edges. You can also do this before you stack them. Either way is fine, but this will give you a little bit of extra dimension to them so that they pop off the canvas. You can choose to curl them so that they face up, or, as in my example, you can curl them so they face down. One yellow flower, I curled very tightly, getting a good curl starting at the very center so that this forms a very tight and if you turn it upside down, you can kind of see that it has a bit of bounce to it. For the yellow flower, I've included a button center. And the way you achieve the button center is you're going to snip around with the black side in. And you're just going to kind of tuck them in until you sort of get this organic looking center round shape. You'll want to glue all of the back together, and then you'll just glue it on to the center of the flowers. You'll notice that some of the flowers have sort of this raised center. And the way I achieved this was I took the strip and using scissors, I very carefully cut very fine fringe type cuts all along. Then I rolled the whole thing, again, using the skewer as sort of my anchor, and rolled them all up. Once it's all rolled up, you can choose to sort of splay the center out and give it an outward looking view, and then glue it to the center of the flower. Or you can take it and bend them sort of inward. It's a little bit trickier. You may need to cut a little bit of this, cut it a little bit shorter, depending on which one you want to do. And you can bend it in so that you get as it looks on this one. You can see that it's kind of crimped in towards the middle. Okay, once your flowers are assembled, you'll have to decide how you want to arrange them on your background. For some of the flowers, like the one where we curled the petals sort of out, I made a bit of a rolled bit of cardboard from the leftover cardstock to make a sort of bundle, and I glued this all together, glued it to the base of the flower, and then that way, when I glued it onto the backing, it had some sort of height to it. So you could do this with any of the flowers that you wanted to give extra height and dimension to your craft. Once you have all of your flowers assembled and you've decided which ones you want higher or lower, you can use your background and glue them onto the background. I found that it was much easier to glue them onto the backing with it out of the frame. That way, when I pressed down on the flowers, the backing didn't warp as much. However, you may want to lay the frame like this as you're doing it so that you make sure that you're not taking up too much of the edge. So, then you can arrange the flowers however you'd like. I called this a rainbow craft, but you could certainly arrange the flowers in less than sort of an arc, the way I did. It's completely up to you. So, once you've learned this technique, there are a couple of other things that you could try if you like doing paper flowers. For example, I made this handy dandy button flower arrangement where I took and put buttons on with some floral wire. I attached floral wire to some of my flowers, and I made this super cute bouquet with a salt and pepper shaker. So you can do something like that. This is a craft I'm working on for the summer season. It's a patriotic flare with some red, white, and blue flowers. And when I'm finished, I'm going to add a couple of jewels and buttons as the centers of my flowers. This is still a work in progress, so I don't have the finished thing done yet. But this is something else that you could do with the flower technique. If you need more flower patterns, you can stop in at the library and I can print out some of the patterns that I use to create these flowers. They're found easily enough online. A number of crafting websites will have rolled flower patterns for free. A couple of other bloggers will sell different patterns. If you happen to have one of the cutting machines, such as a Silhouette or a Cricut or other kind of cutting machine, many of them will have files that will work with that as well. So those are different things that you can do and give a try. If you'd like to pop in and ask any other questions, I'd be more than happy to help you. So folks, thanks for joining me for this crafting demonstration. I hope you enjoy making your rainbow garden as much as I enjoyed making mine. For future reference, you may want to check in with the library's website at adamslib.org. Our July craft is going to be an acrylic paint pour that is beach inspired. We will be doing pouring of paint out in the courtyard so that it's on the concrete, not on the carpet, and we'll be doing that as a fun thing. There will be a fee attached to that one as well, and we will probably be doing it in small groups for a couple of different sessions so that we're able to make it around to get everybody with the attention that they need. We're super excited about doing it, and we're looking forward to sharing that fun with all of you as well. So for today, thank you so much for joining me. Keep crafting and have a good time.